What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the No Face Crypto channel, where there's no face, no case. You feel me? Guys, we are kicking off the start of DeFi month, and in order to do that, I must go back in history and make everybody aware of the most common DeFi hacks, scams, and the pitfalls before we can go in and discuss what's really good about it, how we can use it to benefit our wealth, and all that other good stuff, alright? Guys, back in 2016, hear me? Back in 2016, one of the biggest events in crypto history shook Ethereum. This shit was crazy, okay? Now, I was a lot younger, alright? But this happened. So this was called the DAO hack. A lot of people know about it. But if you don't, these are all the hacks and all these bad things that I'm about to talk about in these next few videos are a precursor to the real DeFi that we have today. All this stuff had to happen in order for us to get real, like legit DeFi that we can all trust and believe in. All right, so this hack was pretty much insane. All right, so it was over a revolutionary project called DAO, and they raised over 150 million in Ethereum to create a decentralized venture fund, essentially. Due to a vulnerability in the smart contract, hackers were able to drain $60 million worth of Ethereum. And after this, the community, due to the proof of work thing that they got going on Ethereum, in order to vote on certain things, they did that. So that created Ethereum Classic, and it was a turning point. It changed the game forever. After this happened in 2016, it changed things forever. But I will say, Ethereum got bailed out multiple times, or Ethereum bailed out multiple times, and you're going to see this in the next few hacks as well when we really talk about this and break this down. But I need to have an intro to the DAO, and this was one of the most famous, notorious hacks in crypto history, and it happened almost a decade ago. So it's time to recap a little bit. You know what I'm saying, guys? And we're just going to go down the history lane. I'm going to show you where DeFi came today and how we can take advantage of it. Alright, guys, let's get started. Welcome to the channel. You feel me? Yeah.
To secure the network. Now, who does the proof of work? So as we speak, mining pools are opening voting mechanisms so that their hash power, the people who are contributing to those mining pools, can vote one way or the other. And so in the end, we're going to see mining pools coming out and mining operations come out one way or another. They're going to say, yep, we support this, or no, we don't. And there's nothing anyone can do about it once those guys decide.
Okay. And they normally say, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a fantastic, interesting phenomenon. You know, it's really exciting. Will this make the community stronger if you survive it? I mean, because you now have to deal with a whole different level of issues. This has never been a problem before. And I think for the whole crypto community, everybody's looking at you and saying, how are you going to fix this problem?
I think you're absolutely right. And up until now, people have been probably rather dismissive about the dangers of haphazard coding in contracts. And either way this will go, people are going to start realizing that you can't just code up a contract like you code up a web server or like you code up some client-side code. You've actually got to prove to not just yourself, but everyone who's going to take a stake in this thing, that it's going to work, and it's going to work indefinitely. So yeah, this is like an immune system response, one way or another. So yeah, we're going to go into a fever for a while, but when we come out of the fever, we're gonna know for sure that this is what you don't do if you want to make a system.
This is
a
very good $160 million lesson. You know, this is really. So what happens in that?
Yeah, guys, this is where I'm getting at. These things had to happen in order for us to have the opportunity to build wealth long term in crypto. These had to happen. Now, essentially, I'll say again, what happened here was, now this isn't the exact line of code, but what happened here was, in the smart contract address, in order for anything to work in DeFi, it needs to be put under a smart contract. This is an automated coded machine contract. Everyone knows this stuff, okay? So this was very early on in this, and DAO, the smart contract for DAO, had a vulnerability in it. This vulnerability was manipulated, and they stole millions and millions of dollars. So that kind of created the birth of smart contract auditing. Now, obviously, not everyone knows code, but in order to know if your contract address is legit, you need to audit that shit. So you got to throw it through a bunch of different programs. So this birthed a whole new industry within crypto. I believe this was like the first major hack. I think there was one a couple before this, but this was like DeFi was just getting started. People were like, "Oh shit, we're all about to be rich," and then boom, took all that shit.
Community when the first 60 million disappears and then the next, and then the 100 extra million is in danger. What do people freak out? Is there
All this guy stressed out, obviously, but all the money that was in DAO was at risk during this time.
incredible spur? Do people how does it feel to live in the community now?
It's part of this talk was in order to try to put people on the same page. I hope I've reached some of them. Obviously, there's uncertainty.
Yeah, we had a huge spike in the amount of viewers when you were, especially the last one. Yeah.
There's inevitably uncertainty. We're all uncertain. At this point, all we can do is make options that we feel are technically sound, and it's really up to the community, the miners, the exchanges, as to which way they go. And I honestly don't know.
You don't know, but you can propose. I mean, you said the different things. So you had do nothing, the soft or the hard fork. What do you think is the best solution?
Well, my mum always taught me, if you see someone robbing someone across the street, then you intervene. So I look on this no differently.
You don't like.
So essentially, what happened after this is they got bailed out by Ethereum. Look at that the way you want. That's fine. We all know about the Ethereum free pass speech and how Ethereum itself is a finesse. We're not going to get into that. This is not about that. But Ethereum bailed them out. DAO out. Obviously, DAO is Ethereum, so they got bailed out. That's completely fine. It's the same thing as central banks getting bailed out.
Like the idea of doing nothing?
No, not really.
No. And the soft fork sounded really soft, nice, wonderful, didn't have too much disadvantages. Is that your preferred choice?
Well, the soft fork, the issue is that the funds are stolen rather than returned. So destroyed rather than returned.
Okay, so they're destroyed. Okay. All right. Okay.
So there's a few different options here when this was going on, and one of them was to literally destroy the funds so they can't be hacked. Crazy.
Okay, so you basically you can have a hard fork and give the money back to the original owners. A soft fork, the money is gone, but the thief doesn't have it. Or you do nothing and the thief just sits there enjoying his 160 million.
Those seem to be the options at the moment.
Oof. Yeah. Oof, that is
Not great.
That is a really hard choice. And it's about real money, isn't it? I mean, did you really think when...
I mean, you guys can hear how stressed out this guy was. This was nobody knew what to do during this time. It's really cool to actually watch this, but it's absolutely insane, guys. They ended up doing a hard fork and bailing DAO out, and then creating Ethereum Classic. This is what happened. This is history. Everyone knows this. Well, most people know this, but this is such a pivotal moment in DeFi, and it really kind of helped create what DeFi is today. We have to know this stuff if we're going to go throw some money into DeFi, guys. So we're just setting some prerequisites here. You know what I'm saying?
You started this Ethereum project that it would be this kind of issues you had to deal with?
I have the option of not having to deal with them. I mean, I can walk away. It's not my problem.
No. But I mean, when you started this project, I mean, this thing, it's now worth, well, it's now a little bit worth less, but it's worth over $1 billion. So it's a serious thing, and a lot of the corporates are really playing with it. I mean, you seem to be the serious Bitcoin or the blockchain alternative, and the smart one with dumb contracts. Just like. But did you expect that it would go to this kind of? Yeah, you have to be a government. You have to come up with a whole system to come up with a switch off automatic and go to manual mode and go back. Would you set up the system differently now?
If I were doing this again, I would probably make sure there were proper governance structures in place.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Guys, I mean, this is when things were just getting started, pretty much. Right before 2017 run, I mean, it's sad, but this guy, he stood on business. This is what happens when somebody stands on business. Now look where we are today with DeFi. All right. I mean, just very, very cool stuff, and you have to know this stuff.
Yeah, that's what all the banks say after the fact. Yeah. Anybody more? One more. Does everybody? Somebody has a smart question for Kevin?
So I've been reading up on what happened last week during the weekend, and you didn't mention the Solidity language that possibly also played a part in this being able to happen. Do you have any position on the language that the contract was programmed in?
Well, it's probably better than LLL, which
I mean, do you hear how stressed this dude is?
is the only one I did. But, I mean, it's... computer programming is hard at the best of times. If there's something to be blamed, it's probably not Solidity. It's probably re-entrancy within the EVM that people simply don't expect. That said, when I envisioned Solidity, it was really to have the formal proofing mechanisms in, which would have guaranteed this kind of thing wouldn't happen. Now, formal proofing is very hard. It's difficult to get right. And there are only a handful of languages that do such a thing. But nonetheless, I think this flaw demonstrates over and above anything else that it's really handy to have in when you're doing stuff like this.
Okay. We have to basically stop. We're going to ask you to do an interview in the studio and...
Yeah, I mean, this guy was in the hot seat all day during something like this. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about the DAO hack in itself. This was just a very big stepping stone in terms of DeFi, and this really brought us to where we are today. And again, guys, we're going to talk about all the shit you got to look out for. All right, so this is number one to look out for. Number one, and extremely, extremely important, when you are in DeFi, when you are about to enter into a smart contract, yo, you got to figure out some type of way. Fucking audit that audit the smart contract. Audit the smart contract, and there's many different programs to do so. But now obviously, if this is like a very big, trustworthy institution, at this time this wasn't super trustworthy. But this is for like Ripple or something like that, or it's a program that's been around for a long time. I don't really think you need to go ahead and audit it. Like right now, you don't have to audit certain things. Just to summarize the DAO hack itself, guys. To support my opinion, this is basically the same thing, but this separated people who believed code only. Like, there's people in the community, code is law, essentially, where you code it, it's done. It's over with. You don't touch it, it's done. Right? If it gets hacked, it gets hacked. You fucked up. Right? And that's where that's it. They should have burned and bridged, and they're gone forever. They should have burned. And then there's the other side of people where it's like, all right, bail us out, give us our money back, and then let's make Ethereum Classic. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of ridiculous. But we're going to go ahead and play this video.
Actually, of Ethereum changed because of the DAO hack. Obviously, we hard forked, but like more about the developers and just their mental state.
So I would say there were a few people who had to deal directly with the stress and pressure of making that decision, being the one to code certain things, being the one to challenge their ethos, and having a lot of people yelling on Reddit and Twitter and podcasts or like all kinds of stuff. Some of them took breaks afterwards and were able to handle it. Other ones fell out. I will say there is a positive to this in that the DAO hack fractured the community in a way where people who were purists from a immutability standpoint went with Ethereum Classic, and then Ethereum kept people who were practical. I would have been fine if we had let the attacker keep the ETH and the DAO tokens, etc. But I respected the fact that there was a lot of discussion with the community from around the world that Vitalik and others did to come to the conclusion that there should be kind of a signaling system from leadership, including some of the core devs, Vitalik, others, that this should be the default option in clients.
How did the
Yeah, I mean, this kind of set the standard for how to deal with major hacks and stuff like this, and we're going to go ahead and make another video on a few other instances, but this was so important to what we have today in DeFi Everyone has to know, and if you don't know already, now you know. Um, I don't care. People can say what they want. I was not around really during this time, so this is all very interesting for me to still talk about. But yeah, let's just close this out one more time. You feel me? All right, guys, just to close out this video, did Ethereum sell out? Yo, personally, I had to click on this because it's like, yo, y'all fucking sold. Y'all sold, bruh. Ethereum, the dude personally stood on 10 toes, but Ethereum did not stand on 10 toes. Y'all was bitching. I'm gonna be completely honest. Fuck Ethereum. And XRP the GOAT. And they said, you know what, Ethereum, fuck y'all. We're gonna take your product, make it better. And they did with the EVM sidechain. Fuck out of here. They made that shit better because they added it to the XRPL. Y'all can't even lie.
Not just a buzzword. It's one of the most important qualities for a blockchain, as it ensures users can trust that the data on it cannot be tampered with.
Immutability.
And this is exactly why the DAO hack on Ethereum remains a controversial topic to this day. Not simply because of an exploit, but how it was resolved, and the market left on the Ethereum community. Let's rewind back to 2016, when Ethereum was still the new kid on the block. During this time, there was a groundbreaking idea called DAOs, Decentralized Autonomous Organizations. DAOs were meant to be organizations where decisions are collectively made by the community and everything is governed by coded smart contracts. The first DAO, creatively named the DAO, was a decentralized investment fund on Ethereum and a giant experiment that explored DAOs as a concept. The idea was simple. People would deposit ETH, and the DAO would invest the funds on the behalf of its members. A fully decentralized investment fund where investment decisions are in the hands of the collective community. The DAO launched in April 2016 and surpassed all expectations after raising a massive $150 million worth of ETH from more than 11,000 members in just 28 days. But then, disaster struck. Less than 3 months after launching, the DAO was hacked. The hacker found a vulnerability in the DAO's smart contract that allowed him to perform something called a re-entrancy attack. Very simply put, by utilizing a vulnerability in the DAO smart contract, the attacker was able to continuously withdraw from the DAO contract before it could update its balance, thus siphoning funds from it. A group of white hat hackers called the Robinhood Group emerged and used the same exploit to recover part of the stolen funds. However, the majority of the siphoned funds remained unrecoverable. In the course of a few weeks, the hacker gradually drained $60 million worth of ETH, while a massive blow of confidence was dealt to not just the DAO, but Ethereum as a whole. The Ethereum community was now faced with a dilemma. On the one side, people argued that Ethereum's core value was immutability. What's on the blockchain should stay on the blockchain. To reverse any action, even to fix a hack, would compromise the very essence of immutability and set a dangerous precedent that could weaken the trustless nature of the blockchain. But on the other hand, there are people who felt Ethereum had a moral obligation to protect its users. People invested real money, and they were watching their savings disappear. Those in this camp believed Ethereum had to act fast to prevent further theft and restore confidence in the blockchain. The solution? A hard fork. Ethereum's developers proposed the creation of a new blockchain that would undo the DAO hack by moving the stolen funds to a new contract where it could be refunded to the original investors. Although over 85% of the community voted in favor of the hard fork, this was controversial, as it meant rewriting history, effectively erasing transactions made by the hacker from the blockchain. And since then, Ethereum is split in two, the new chain that adopted the fork and Ethereum Classic, which kept the original unaltered history. Despite the dramatic collapse of the DAO, it planted the seeds for a new era of DAOs. Many DeFi household names like Uniswap and Aave operate as DAOs, where its community members vote on important project decisions. And so there you have it, the very first DAO and its rather colorful history on Ethereum. Speaking of decentralized organizations, have you
Guys, you get the point. Need I say more? We're going to go on to the next thing in the next video. But this is a very big stepping point in DeFi. And And in Ethereum, I hate Ethereum personally, but it's not a bad investment. But I personally dislike Ethereum for many different reasons. All right, but this was a very big part in the making of true DeFi, and it's very important to know, guys. Contract vulnerabilities happen. They are a real thing in real time, in real life. You need to be able to audit smart contracts. If you can't access the smart contract, if you can't even look at the thing itself, there's a problem. All right, that's step one. Now we're gonna go into some other things after this, but you feel me? I'm gonna get out of here.